You wouldn't think a TV program built around a racially offensive minstrel show would become a big hit. In fact, it probably wouldn't. But that was the premise of Spike Lee's controversial film from 2000 called Bamboozled. It made a huge impression on a young man growing up in England then. We're going to meet him in a moment. But before we do, here's the trailer for the movie.
I want a show that will make headlines. The Huxtables, Cosby, a genius, revolutionary. But we can't go down that road again.
The network does not want to see Negroes on television unless they are buffoons.
Have you ever thought about just quitting?
I have a contract. The only way I get out of that is if I get fired. And that is what I intend to do. I know you're familiar with minstrel shows, variety shows, like in Living Color.
Right. That was dope.
Man Tan, the new millennium minstrel show.
We're gonna need a little more money for this.
This could be bigger than Friends, Ally McBeal, even my boys Amos and Andy.
Damn.
You're putting white actors in blackface?
We're using black actors with blacker faces.
This fall,
Right on, man.
Yeah, great show.
you won't believe what's coming to your television.
Sleep and Eat and Mantan are lazy and unemployed.
Do your stuff.
But we are certainly not saying anything about the entire African American community.
What's sweeping the nation. And what's coloring the way you see the world.
Yo, we can't let this injustice go by, man. Not this time, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Nah, man. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
You notice that everybody white want to be black.
How about raising up?
They all act better, sound better.
When are you gonna come into the light?
The light.
The light.
Your hands are just as bloody as mine.
Cousins, I want you all to go to your windows. We talking about revolution. Go to your windows and yell out, I am not gonna take it anymore!
I don't want anything to do with anything black for at least a week.
The 15-year-old boy who was so impressed with the film has since gone on to write a book called Facing Blackness, Media and Minstrelsy in Spike Lee's Bamboozled, and has now organized a film series starting Wednesday night at BAM Cinematheque. It uses Bamboozled as its starting point, and here to tell us about it is writer and curator Ashley Clark. Welcome to BK Live, Ashley.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So, what do you think about Smoke the Cat?
I thought this was going to be the intense thing today, but I'm glad we got Smoke the Cat. I wonder if that guy's still crying.
I know.
How did you first become obsessed with the movie Bamboozled?
Well, I first saw it, as you said before, when I was 15, and I didn't know what to make of it. I'm not sure it was a film that I wanted to see again, but I kind of couldn't stop thinking about it over the years. And a lot of Spike Lee's films get mixed reviews, and of the films of his that do get mixed reviews, I think this is the most interesting. And I got a bit tired of seeing critics writing it off. I was surprised that you couldn't get it on Blu-ray. It never, it's released once on DVD. You can't stream it. You can't get hold of it.
Is that right?
Yeah. And I think it really kind of scared people. And it's not a feel-good film. So I think there's many legit reasons why it hasn't had a good afterlife.
It's still not available? Why?
No Blu-ray. There's one or two copies on Amazon. I think it really scared people.
And what's at the core of why you think it scared people?
Because it asks everybody, white viewers, black viewers, to really look at some serious issues. It's not a conventional satire in that you can identify with one point of view and feel good about knowing that one thing is being smacked down. This film takes aim at everybody. It takes aim at white executives, black performers, white and black viewers, and it leaves nobody feeling good about themselves. And if your primary objective from seeing a film is to feel good, have a good night out, this is not the film to do that.
No, I remember that. I remember watching it. I saw it in theaters. I never saw it again. I mean, it was really hard to watch because it's exactly that. I mean, everyone's being asked to take a look at themselves and each other and what's going on, especially in the media and in the entertainment business.
Yeah.
You talk a lot about that in the book. So what do you feel has changed in the past 15 years in media and entertainment that's brought up in Bamboozled, if anything?
I think a lot has changed in terms of just visibility. There's a lot more diverse faces on screen. What hasn't changed so much is diversity at executive level, which is where the big decisions come in. The film takes aim at backwards portrayals of black characters, and while the minstrel show is obviously, it was satirical, it was never supposed to be realistic, and I think a lot of critics use that as a get-out clause to say, oh, we've come so far, this would never happen now, this film's obsolete. But what Spike's really saying is that these negative stereotypes persist, and while we can be really happy and look at films like The Help or Precious and say that the actors and actresses winning Oscars, it's great on paper because they're getting recognised by the establishment. But what are these roles really about? You know, these are people playing maids and slaves.
Right.
And it's not to say that 12 Years a Slave is a bad movie, but what are the stories that are being told with big money, with big budgets behind them? These are not necessarily progressive stories.
Right, right.
Now, your book just came out, Facing Blackness. I have a two-part question. What issues does it mostly deal with that you discussed in the book, and what did you learn as you wrote the book that maybe you didn't know when you started it?
The film is kind of messy and sprawling. It's well over 2 hours long. There's a million different characters. You know, just before we began today, we were talking about all the people that are in it. That you forget
the Roots
that the Roots are in it.
Savion Glover.
All these Paul Mooney's in it. All these incredible people. Al Sharpton pops up. You know, so to kind of squeeze all of that into a small. You know, I took the film piece by piece rather than looking at it all at once. So I split it into the media aspect of it and also the minstrelsy side, and that's where I learned the most. I read up a lot on minstrel history, about how it was America's first kind of indigenous art form, which is obviously not shouted from the rooftops.
Wow, what a great history to have.
I learned about, more about Al Jolson and how he was perceived at the time and what he thought he was doing, and that it was supposed to be a form of respect, that white actors in blackface were thought to be freeing themselves because that's what they associated with blackness. The black experience was to be free and, you know, and open, and that the Protestant ethic of the time didn't allow white people to do that. So all of these kind of interesting social and political histories. I learnt more about black actors in blackface. The film would probably be a lot easier to deal with if it was white actors blacking up. But the fact that it's black actors blacking up situates it in a really interesting historical context that's not so well known.
We also have pictures here. There's Juliana Hough. We had Robert Downey Jr. before. Why do you think it is that Caucasian actors and people in general, there's a news story right now, a teacher was dressed up as Kanye West for Halloween. Why do you think it is that so many white Americans don't realize the implications of dressing up in blackface?
It's a good question. I think perhaps the post-racial idea, the election of President Obama in 2008 gave people a free pass, felt that, you know, we don't need, things have moved on,
right,
you know?
It's the same idea. This isn't a problem here anymore.
But we respect you, you know, we're not trying to offend you, you know, chill out, you know. A general ignorance of the historical context behind what blackface was and how it demeaned black people and had really serious social impacts. It took black people out of work and you know, beyond the obvious, the psychological, what that does to you and how that sets you back. I just don't think there's a general understanding of how serious and how deep it goes. And it's seen as a bit of a laugh. It's funny that this series is coinciding with Halloween. And we sold out the first screening, so they've put another screening on Saturday, which is Halloween itself.
Wow.
I certainly hope nobody comes in fancy dress for the screening. But it is kind of a horror film, I think, in many ways.
Wow. Speaking of the screening, let's talk a little bit about Spike Lee and what's coming up. But before that, his choice to film this on a particular kind of camera. You mention it in the book. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, another reason why the film didn't go down well with critics was that it looks quite ugly. It was shot on consumer-grade digital video. which made it the first kind of major Hollywood film to be shot on digital. Of course, digital's commonplace now. You know, most films are shot digitally, but it's a lot higher grade. He did this for budget reasons. He didn't have a huge budget. And also he contrasted it with, if you look at the minstrel scenes in the film, they're actually shot on proper film. So they look really beautiful and rich and really colourful. And I think that's a deliberate comment on how easily that slips into the mainstream and how people love it. It looks beautiful, it's very seductive. And then when you contrast that with that kind of ugly digital of the rest of the film, it's a beautiful contrast, and it makes a real comment on what he's doing with the minstrel show.
Do you know if Spike Lee has read the book?
I don't know if he has. He's been sent it. I hope he's read it, and I certainly hope he likes it.
So you don't know his take yet. What are you going to ask him in your Q&A with him?
I want to kind of know more about when he was growing up, when the penny dropped for him as a young film fan, how deep this went. When he was watching films, at what age he twigged how serious and how deep stereotyping and historical racism in Hollywood went. I also want to know what brought him to make the film at that particular point in his career. So 15 years into his feature filmmaking career, what kind of aspects came together to kind of bring out this angry, nightmarish film in 2000?
What are you hoping to get out of this book, or what have you already, having written it?
It's been great to dig into a film that I'd never actually written about before. As I said, I learned a lot about American culture and history generally throughout it, and it was a really rewarding experience to dig into a film that in many ways gets further away from you. That the more you dig into it, it's a very tricky film. It's not a standard 3-act structure where there's a clear beginning, middle, ending, and good guys and bad guys. It was a chance for me to really position something as a daring piece of experimental cinema and hopefully play my part in restoring its reputation.
Is it your favorite Spike Lee film?
Yeah, it's definitely up there.
It's got to be if you've spent years writing about it, right?
Yeah, it's still troubling. There's still things I'm not sure about. Having read I wouldn't for a minute say the book was conclusive. I still think there's so many talking points and ideas. Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, obviously up there too.
Excellent. You've also, you've become a curator in a way. So tell us about the fest.
Another thing I do in part of my work is curating. I spoke about Afrofuturism.
You've been here before speaking about that.
And something that I love to do as a curator is bring together films that maybe many people haven't seen, or they've been slept on, or been, dissed by the critics, and to kind of tell a story through a selection of films. And this the series that I've put together at BAM just across the road is kind of, there's two sides to it. One of the films that Spike has said directly influenced Bamboozled. So those are Network and A Face in the Crowd. These are kind of media satires. The other half of it are films that deal with race and Hollywood and stereotypes. So through these films, obviously if people go and watch everything, which is the hope, they'll get a really kind of full and thorough understanding of the issues that Spike brings up in Bamboozled.
All right, so real quick to close, where can people see Bamboozled in focus, and how can people find out more about your book, Ashley?
Yeah, my website is ashleyclark.net, so you can find out everything on there. You can buy it from the Critical Press website or Amazon. The series is at BAM Cinematheque on Lafayette Avenue. And BAM.org.
Right over here.
People around here know BAM.
Just down the block.
And it starts on Wednesday the 28th, tomorrow night. I'll be interviewing Spike Lee tomorrow evening.
Good luck.
Which I'm looking forward to. And it closes on Tuesday, November the 3rd.
Ashley, we know you're going to kill it.
Thank you.
Just like you do on BK Live. Thank you very much for being here. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
And all your future work.
Thank you very much.